Welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Nerd.
Welcome to episode 287 of all things. Today we're going to be talking about using 3D terrain, using virtual terrain, using maps, type of that, whether it's either a tabletop RPG, whether it's a miniature game, whatever miniature game you're playing, because John and I come from the old school of, hey, here's books under the tablecloth, and here's styrofoam we found from the TV that we just took out of the box.
I mean, to be fair, I grew up in Games Workshop HQ land, so not so much.
Yeah, but I mean, you know
But
what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
the idea, that was actually in fucking books back in the day.
Yeah. And Nerd is actually going to be talking about, which I can help with it. John hasn't done any virtual D&D stuff or virtual RPG.
That's not true.
Well, not
Very little.
very, very little. But Nerd works on it more than I do. And we'll be should be touching on that on like Roll20 or VTT or whatever you're using.
Yep.
Whether it's going to be that. But before we do that, we got to get to the business. We got to thank Midnight
Business.
Heroes for supplying and doing all the cool chibi miniature stuff. Make sure to check them out. They have a new Kickstarter coming up pretty soon, and it's going to be an all pirate themed one, I believe, which is going to be cool. And on top of that, they are hitting a bunch of the miniature circuit scene pretty soon. So don't forget to check them out. Don't forget to check out Muse on Minis. They are back up and running and got all their stuff going again. So they're redoing a bunch of pricing, but make sure you check them out. And, of course, thank them for hosting our podcast and getting it out to a bunch of people. We want to thank Parabellum War Games. If you haven't checked out a good rank and flank game like Conquest, please do. My boys are going crazy in the background.
Yeah, there.
They're wrestling. They actually have a bunch of new bundles coming out. If you wanted to get in the game, you can technically buy a 2,000 point army now, pre-built, 2,000 point, and they're not bad. They're not like optimized, uber OP, but they give you a good thing. And then you can buy like a smaller version of it, like a 1,500 point bundles they got going on, and they're actually much cheaper to buy that than to buy it piece by piece, which is really good. I know a lot of people are looking into it, and that's like a quick and easy way to get it. You're like, oh, here's 1,500 points, pick it up, done, type stuff. We want to thank Turbo Dork, the awesome people making incredibly awesome paint, not only metallics but turbo shifting paints. They are actually doing, I think they have new colors coming out, and they're redoing all their bottles. I don't know if you saw this or not on their Facebook page. They actually are working with the people that make vape juice and using vape juice bottles, dropper bottles.
Huh.
Yeah, what was funny is
Help them cut costs seems good because you're getting them in more bulk at that point.
yeah. Well, they were working on it and they re-engineered it a little bit. They didn't tell you the whole details, but to using pretty much like vape juice bottles to bring, to get the ink out, and it actually works really well. Hey, Shadow Sword. So I thought that was interesting. So they're going to be redoing a bunch of that stuff. I'll probably talk to them. Of course, they'll be at Adepticon, and I'll sit with Greg and everybody and kind of talk about stuff that's going on. We want to thank also Creature Caster for sponsoring the podcast. If you haven't played Judgment yet, go check out Judgment, and you can play a cool miniature / board game. Pretty fun, pretty easy, and with some really cool miniatures. I know that they'll be at Adepticon pretty hardcore, especially Creature Caster. They've got a good big painting competition coming along, the Resin Beast competition. And plus, they've got, pretty cool paint line. They're Cuttlefish colors. And if you like D&D and you want to have models that go with your 5th edition game, their My Mini Factory page, which is their tribes, you can get, it's usually about 8 to 10 models, and usually a large scale model with regular size models, and then a 5th edition module to go along with it, which I think is actually really cool. That's, a pretty decent little thing. Did I get everybody? I think I did. I think I got everybody this time.
I think you got everyone.
I think you did.
If you weren't here for the pre-ramble, there are some changes coming to the channel. We are going to be building a website so we can do some information and building up. We're going to be doing a little bit more social media presence. Nerd is going to be providing a whole new TikTok account and going to be doing all these cool dances and, sing-alongs for everybody. No, she's not.
Yep. Totally.
She'll be doing some streaming stuff and working on things. I'm going to do a little bit more streaming. Mostly it's because I'm going to be playing games and, let y'all look at me and going, "You're a fucking nerd." I'm like, yeah. But we got some more stuff coming along the line, some new channel changes, other stuff than that. But, that's just kind of how it's going to go. You know us, always improvising, adapting, and overcoming. So, we're going to be increasing our presence a bit, doing a little bit more things, upgrading a few things also that we need to upgrade. John, do we have any shout outs this week? Nerd?
Not that came across my desk, so to speak.
There was that one actor whose name is eluding me that I sent to the chat. Hold on, I'm scrolling back through our chat.
Oh.
Uh-oh, shit. I don't even remember.
Yeah, don't.
I don't remember either.
It was a busy week. I had to mute you guys a couple times when I was at work.
Yeah, busy actually had to mute us too.
Alienation of Star Trek Enterprise actor Gary Graham.
Gary Graham, yeah.
Yep.
Hold on. You forgot the pinnacle of his career.
Yeah.
Robot Jocks. He plays the lead character in that wonderful robot fighting movie. To be fair, he's one of the better parts of that movie. I did also enjoy him. I don't really remember him from Star Trek so much. I remember him a lot more from Alienation because I was a fan of the movie. Yes. And I watched the TV show while it was on. Yep,
I remember that. That's what I remember him from more than anything.
The hardest thing about that was, how are you trying to fill in James Caan's shoes? I mean, it's not easy. So, but no, I think he's part of the reason it was an enjoyable series. He and the other lead, who played George Francisco, were good together. I'm a little upset when that got canceled, but I mean, was the 90s. What do you expect?
Oh yeah. So, I guess we need to get to the really, really important stuff. John, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I got some blood orange iced tea, it says. I don't think it's actually iced tea, but it's, Lipton Brisk blood orange iced tea, which I have mixed with some vodka and some triple sec.
Okay. Nerd?
See how that is.
I am drinking pineapple horchata.
That sounds odd, but interesting.
That's how I would describe it. It is quite tasty, though.
Why is a horchata?
Hey. Mizzy, next time you see him, will you smack him in the back of the head? I'll give stuff for me.
Yes, please do.
I don't know what a chata is, but I definitely know what a whore is, so...
Oh my god. Can't take you anywhere.
No, never. Wait till Adepticon. You're going to be like, fuck, do I really want to be on this podcast now?
We'd be like, I don't know this man. I've never seen this man before in my life.
I'm doing the good old water today. As everybody knows that I'm trying to get a little bit healthier. Trying to make myself a little bit, live a little bit longer type stuff. So I am doing water. Guys, as usual, just like everything else, make sure you look after each other. Make sure you, if you can see something that needs to be talked about, talk about it. Just to let you know that we did have somebody come to us and said, hey, I heard something. Can you take care of it? And we did. Took care of the background. No issues. We kept it all, quiet. Wasn't anything we did. But there was something that somebody was upset about. And I was like...
You don't always have to be the one responsible for it to be the one to take care of it.
Yep. And we took care of it. And everything was perfectly fine. So like we says, if you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. And if you can do something, do something. If you can't, find somebody that will, because we need to look after each other. These next few years are going to be a pretty trying time for people, I have a feeling. So make sure that you look after each other. Cheers.
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 You know what? I need to make a quick rant.
Oh.
And it has to do with Rebel Moon. You know, John's favorite. You know,
Uh-oh.
the classic, cult classic movie that John just raves about. Thinks it's like, you know, the next Star Wars.
Rants. Raves is something else entirely. Rants is
Okay. I guess everybody know the product Liquid Death. It's like caffeinated
yes.
water. Yeah, they made a commercial with Rebel Moon and Liquid Death, and they're on the side of the bad guys with Liquid Death, and it's like
That's on point for their branding, though.
yeah, it's like, are you tired? Are you glad you're a fascist and like to, you know, curb stomp farmers and all this other stuff? And I was like, yeah, just have Liquid Death after the, you know, your fascist regime takes over a planet. Like,
so, the Fat Electrician, who is a YouTube channel who does a bunch of military stuff, has a second channel where he talks about just random companies.
mm-hmm.
His second episode was about the guys who make Liquid Death and the whole story of that. It was quite interesting, like 15-minute long video. He did Aldi's this week. It's honestly, they're both good listens to. He goes and finds details. It's interesting, but definitely on brand for Liquid Death.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. The commercial was better than the whole entire movie, though. I'll tell you that much. Also, in gaming news, Guild Ball is back.
Oh, I thought you were going to do the related one.
Oh, we'll get to that one. We should get to that one first before we get to the Guild Ball. The Rebel Moon RPG is gone.
They have refunded all the distributors who pre-ordered it and settled with Netflix out of court.
Yep.
Which sort of tells you probably how that went, because it would have had to go in favor for them, or they'd have taken it to further in court.
Well, also they did. There was something else. I think Renegade. I think it's Renegade Games that was doing it. They're actually going to do a new sci-fi RPG. Sounds like we're getting a reskin.
The same rules, which is interesting. I mean, I'm down with that. That's honestly, this is probably not anyone who's listening, but if you're making a role-playing game or something like that for a IP, having it available to be used outside that IP is important, because that keeps you guys going after that IP fades. Because let's be honest, if it's not one of the handful of big ones, it's going to eventually fade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I remember when they were like throwing out all the Game of Thrones stuff.
Game of Thrones stuff, like prior to that, it's cyclical. Margaret Weiss Games did like a ton of them. They did The Expanse, Serenity, which I'm pretty sure is all just the reskin of the same game, which is cool. And then back in what year was that? Probably early 2000s, late 90s, probably late 90s. I was working at Alliance Games Distribution. There was a ton of just anime role-playing games all based off the same system.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you want your Sailor Moon game? They got your Sailor Moon game. You know, a bunch of them. And I mean, that's cool. I mean, back in the day, they would do that, and they would have usually the best source material you could find in a pre-internet age. So you'd be like, I want to know about this anime that I love. Find the game. It's got all the deets for you. Yeah. And then, what were you talking about? Next one? Oh, yeah, Guild Ball.
Yeah, so for everybody that know, they did do a Steamforge Games did a I guess
Mea culpa?
Well, they released a statement saying they're bringing it back, and some people are like, "Cool, all right, cool." Some people are like, "Don't care." I mean, I threw that stuff out a long time ago. So I'm going to sit back and watch, just see how this goes, and we'll see what happens. But Guild Ball wasn't a bad game, and it was small and had few models, but it was decent. I mean, it was soccer, football, however you want to put it, with combat. So you just had to figure it out, but it wasn't bad. It was decent.
I would say it had only one real flaw, and that was the amount of fucking tokens.
You did have a lot of tokens.
Like, for a game of that few people, you generally had more tokens than you had in War Machine with triple the models.
Yeah, you did have a lot of tokens.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily bad. It's just one of those things. It's like,
They are going to be doing reprinting of models. I know that they did. They're going to do some STLs and stuff, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm just going to sit. We're going to sit and wait, see what's going on, see what's going to happen there. But
in a bold statement, I hope when they do STLs, they actually let people buy the STLs.
Yeah.
I had a talk with nickname pending Frank, and his biggest problem, one of his bigger problems with Privateer Press was that you're paying top tier model prices for 3D printed models when they should just offer the STLs.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do, because I know they really haven't done. I mean, they're all stuck on their IPs of board games of IPs and stuff. So and I know that they're financially they're not
keeping
in
them in business,
state.
and that's all good, right?
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
We've said this in the past on other podcasts. Healthy, as more healthy gaming companies are out there, the better it is for all of us.
Yes.
Because that keeps the competition strong.
A rising tide type mentality. So we'll wait and see. But let's go and get to our topic. And I think I want to start off with the virtual type thing. So this last weekend, I played my Vampire RPG. And, of course, this is a modern world version, and we don't use a map, we don't use miniatures, we don't do that because there's a lot of role play and a lot of talking and a lot of discussion, and there was like no combat this last session, and it got me thinking, when do we need terrain, when do we need miniatures, and why do we do it? And Nerd does on her channel does some virtual tabletop stuff, and so I'll let Nerd go and get that while I switch over to the painting cam. So take it away, Nerd.
Yeah, so with 2D, it's a lot different. I use Roll20. It is hard unless you've got a well-drawn map that actually, or like an isometric map. You can also use those. They're harder to use on Roll20 because they don't snap to the grid or anything like that. But it's hard to distinguish height on a 2D map. That's my only that's my biggest critique of 2D maps. But unless you, as a DM, put a lot of work into building your maps or finding the maps to use and getting everything set up and setting up lighting and all those sort of things, you have players that'll run all over your map. I learned that early on. If you don't restrict movement or use fog of war or something like that in order to hide different parts of the map.
So you're talking about people that have ADHD just kind of running all over the place?
Yeah. I have players that will just start running all over the map, and I'll be like, hi, I'm still describing the place you just walked into. Slow your roll.
Slow your roll indeed.
But
so you find maps very useful for people. I remember you said when we were talking about this that you guys are not in a negative sense. You're not as much theater of the mind for maps and stuff.
Yeah. For maps, I am going into a major city. I don't have that mapped out in my head, so I found a map that worked for what I wanted. And I have generic travel maps. If there's a travel encounter, I right now they're in the desert, I have a couple of just generic encounter maps to be this is where you might end up or something like that. But depending on the size of your, whether you're doing homebrew or if you're using like a published module, like on Roll20, you can get modules that come with all the maps and all the tokens and everything that you need. Just like buying, uh, well, it unlike buying the physical copy or a digital copy from like Wizards of the Coast themselves, it's still licensed content, but it comes with everything that you need to run it digitally. But terrain, it really, I am trying to figure out how to find not just flat maps, but ones that actually have like the break line of sight, or there is height involved where uh, you've got like a rocky outcropping or something like that, or things that people have to get up and over in order to continue uh, progressing the combat or encounter or whatever it may be.
No,
There's my
absolutely.
ramble.
And I'm of two minds. I'll start with the D&D centric one.
Yeah.
D&D very much lends itself to mapping. Dungeons in
Mm-hmm.
particular, could you really need maps, at least basic maps.
Yeah.
I don't find I need as much 3D stuff because honestly, most games have levels listed, a person's X height. You can easily think like, well, it's a building. A building is one person high at least, a little higher, so you know that they can't see over that. You can hand wave most of it. But yeah, D&D definitely does need it. We did a ton of fourth edition D&D. We played a little bit of fifth. But fourth edition D&D very much lends itself to maps, so much that even WotC put maps in most of their pre-made adventures and then put out the
Mm-hmm.
dungeon tile stuff, which I still have a shit ton of. And those are great. Like if
Yeah.
you can have those are great. But my other mind is from the feng shui, which I play a ton of school of thought, which is the map is not your friend. The map is constraint. And sometimes you need that. But like a city map, I would never make a city map. I would describe it. And if someone needs to get in the weeds of it, I'm like, dude, that's not fucking important. It'll take you a couple minutes to walk from here to here. I might jot some notes down, like this isn't this part of the city, whatever, and just hand wave it. Take you a little bit of time. Like unless they're in an actual time crunch that you recognize, because players are always in a time crunch you don't recognize. Like you don't have to hurry, fucker, calm down.
Oh yeah, no, there's going to be street chases and things like that through this map. So
But that's when you actually want to. That's I find those situations where it's even better to hand wave because most of it doesn't matter. You can either make it some sort of luck type check, like oh, it is the exact thing you need there, or just go hand wave. Well, yeah, it makes sense that would be there. That's why Feng Shui always said the map's not your friend. As a GM, you can go. It makes sense that X item is there. Like, oh, hey, I'm getting in a fight in someone's house. Do I have a mop so I can, parry swords? Well, absolutely, pick up that mop and go. You don't have to picture it or anything. Or
yeah.
I'm in someone's house. I'll flip over their kitchen table and use it as concealment and cover. Absolutely. Um, Senator Voice says, would you say it depends on your play group 100%? I would not say.
Uh-oh. John Freeze?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Sounds like John
I
froze.
know.
Maps.
Oh, John, you froze for a minute.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard. Um, for Senator Voigt's question, like you don't necessarily like no group needs it 100% of the time. There
yeah.
are times when every map can just be hand waved. It doesn't matter. If you can close enough quarters or what have you. I mean, I honestly haven't really used a map in years. I just describe it. We use some for the D&D fifth edition, but that's because the module came with maps, so it's super easy to use.
Yeah. I personally use maps a lot more too because I struggle with description.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things I was on. It kind of really depends on your group.
Yeah.
I know that some people,
Or your
have
DMing style.
yeah, some people have issues trying to get, you know, the visuals, and so it's easier to do a map or draw up the battlefield or whatever. But
I
that's
am going to counter with something based off of other media, since it's also our thing. Things you don't describe, they will fill in themselves. You can say it's a beautiful city with, large spires rising into the sky, and they'll get a picture. That's a great basic view of a map. Of a city. You don't need to tell them the exact details beyond that. Let their imagination fill it in.
Yeah, mostly what I'm talking about is like um, more of things that's going to be happening where they want to know the details, and I need to know, am I 40 feet away, 30 feet away? And some people
You
have a
can you can
problem.
handwave that. You can
Yeah,
go like, hey,
but I'm
yeah,
talking about
you're one
people
move
that
away, you're
have
two
a
move away.
problem. I have someone in my group that can't visualize that in their head. They need a physical representation type
But you
stuff.
can tell them, hey, you're about this far away. I tell people that all the time. Like,
Yeah,
hey, you're
but
about this far away.
they need the visual,
I,
and that's okay.
I
I don't have a
agree with
problem with
giving
it.
them the visual, absolutely fine.
Yeah, I don't have a
But
problem
I
with that either.
feel to an extent, if you don't try and push them, you're doing them a little bit of a disservice by not trying them to get them out of their shell, so to speak. It's like when you get the person who can't do numbers. You know, you let them count their dice. You don't count it for them. You can do it twice as fast, whatever, in whatever game. Let them do it because you want to encourage them to grow. And all the time, there's times when you're like, there's enough going on. I'm going to get you a map real quick. And sometimes the map is the perfect thing. But there's a lot of times where if you put a map out, you're going to find yourself hamstrung by what you've drawn on the map. You know, do you hand wave and say, oh, yeah, there's a cart there. Cool. If you don't, if you just describe it like, oh, he's running down a busy street, you know, people have an idea what that looks like. And hopefully, and not everyone does this, someone will need the map to show them. Like, okay, cool, I'm going to run up, try and keep tabs and hide behind this, a cart going by. Cool. The cart going by? Seems like it would be. It's a busy street. Unless you have a reason to tell them no. It's tough. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's really not easy.
Yeah.
And if you can do a map in a lot of cases, especially the more granular the combat system is. So I would say for D&D, map plus. Absolutely, map's going to help you. It's made for a map.
Whereas
Depending,
Blades in the Dark, you're less reliant on maps, and I don't know that we ever used maps for Blades in the Dark.
exactly. Or Gonzo will know Genesis. Genesis is designed not to have maps.
Mm-hmm.
There's not ranges. How far away is he? He's he's either in melee or he's short, medium, long, or extreme range. And there are rules for how you get closer. And that's one of the parts of that game I really like. You don't have to worry about how far. It's a quick thing. You're short from that guy. Cool.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a lot of it is extra work on the GM's part. And sometimes you just don't need the extra work. It seems funny. The map is work you can do in advance. You can have that ready in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking winging it is something you have to do on the spot.
Yeah,
That's
and
more mental at the
like
spot at the time.
I have a city map. I only built out X percentage of it because I'm like, the rest of these are all homes. We're not gonna work.
You don't need that.
This. Yeah, like I like marked key locations and like threw some tokens down for people they're gonna interact with.
Yeah. Last night, my GI Joe guys, we used no maps. They come upon they're in the jungle, but they come across a clearing where the camp's set up, the enemy camp, and they're asking us like, "Is there a generator?" I'm like, I hadn't thought of that. Of course, there's a generator. They got power. So they're asking questions. Oh, where is it? That stuff, and you just make that shit up. I might write little notes, make a brief little thing for myself to keep track of it. I'm like, certain games it's easy for, some games it's hard for. Hinton said a couple folks in my current group absolutely need maps, especially when it comes to combat. This is here's my hot take. If a person absolutely needs a map to be in combat, I don't want to give them a map because they are focusing too much on the wrong details. I want them to focus on what they're doing in a general sense, not in a specific sense. If I say you're close enough to get in a melee and fight, you're close enough to get melee and fight. What does it matter how exact close you are? It doesn't. If you want to do something specific, you should be talking to the gym. It's like, I want to run up and do this, this, and this. You promote more thinking outside the box with it. And again, that's not always what you want. Sometimes you don't want players to think outside the box. Sometimes you want them to be going by the rules. But I play a lot of games nowadays that are a little less particular about it. So I'm just like, I'm just trying to be vague and get them what they can. So, but it's going to be a GM and player almost a discussion beforehand, honestly. You might not need to if you know your players well enough, but you might go in like, if Nerd's playing with me, he's like, okay, John doesn't need a map. I know. Let's see what everyone else needs.
Tons of alcohol and no.
I mean, that's not related to the map, but I can provide my own alcohol. It's okay. But you should know that it's like knowing your players. It should almost be on the sheet you're filling out when you're making your game. I don't know if anyone does that else, but they're the old which book is that? Fourth edition of Champions, the big blue book. Had a campaign sheet in the back where it's like you figure out this is what you write out to figure out your campaign. There's gonna be episodic, serial, all that stuff. That map should be on there. Now, a game like Champions, where they use hexes, you probably should use maps because stuff measured in that. But in the later editions, they switched from hexes because people complained about it. Because for some reason, if you make the system super friendly to maps and such, people say it's a miniatures game with role playing tacked on, and that's fucking stupid. But hey, people be people. The edition wars are real. Um, I actually find that like a game like, let's say, fourth edition, a little less so fifth edition D&D. Sure, they're really friendly with maps. Really hard to use fourth edition without maps. Kind of hard to use fifth edition without maps. And is that a fault with the game? Not necessarily. I think when WotC was at their peak, supplying a bunch of stuff, like I said, or the third parties, like Nerd mentioned, where they're coming with online maps you can put on there. That's great. That takes it out. That's a little work you don't have to do. You can add an extra visualization. It's great. But I think it's something you should be talking about. And if you've never done it, if you find the right group, try doing it without a map. Maybe not in D&D. If you're playing something else, like Nerd said, Blades in the Dark, they didn't use a map at all.
Yeah,
it helps. You'll picture things. And not everyone's good at that. It's okay. We can't all be good at everything.
yeah.
But sometimes you have to be pushed out of your comfort zone. You have to push players out of their comfort zone. Not too much, because you don't want to make it uncomfortable. You just want to challenge them a tiny bit at a time. And to the rest of the 3D train, I fucking ever do 3D train for a role playing game. Like, I ain't got time like that.
We can't all be Mike Moans.
Exactly. We all can't have 3D printers.
We can't all have 3D printers and teams to paint the stuff. Like, that stuff's great. Like, honestly, it adds so much to a game. I borrowed 2, not even fully made, but mostly made ships for a fantasy game. They had squares on them and everything from a buddy. And did it level up the game? Absolutely.
Did I need to build a tiny tavern scene for my one shot? Absolutely not. Did I? Hell yeah, I did, because it was fun.
So the centerpiece is going to get talked about. It's good. I've seen a bunch of those. If you can, it will help, but don't feel like you have to. If you're the GM, you have so much work to do already.
Everything else are NPCs or mobs they're gonna fight. Mm-hmm.
And don't hesitate to mix it. Some stuff can be 2D. That's fine. Like hell, honestly, the way we use
most of the map will be like all the trees and stuff are going to be 2D. I'm just gonna.
Or in a bar fight, let's say a bar fight situation, tables could be 3D if you can do it, or something just a little bigger, and stools and chairs. You could just. I would never make anyone do anything other than you shoulder the chair out of the way, you fucking kick it out of the way as you go. I would make those 2D if I wanted. If you wanted to keep track of them, I want an improvised weapon of a bar stool.
Yeah.
There are ways you can make it work.
I have proficiency with a glass bottle. I crack it over his head.
I was thinking more of the Feng Shui everyday hero who actually gets a bonus for using not an actual weapon. To the point where if you keep using the same weapon again, you lose the bonus because it's not improvised anymore, son. It's your weapon.
Yeah, I loved improvised weapon. I used to throw the gnome. I had Fling Ally in Pathfinder back in the day.
Story
Loved
time.
that.
So back in the day, we're playing probably first edition D&D. I don't think second edition had to have been out by that point. Probably were playing second edition. And I played an ogre barbarian named Bob, the bodacious ogre barbarian. He had intelligence of 4, just enough so he could speak. And in one game, we were playing this crossworlds thing. The GM just didn't care what you took. He was just having a fun time. The Kender ran up to me and said, "Throw me at him." I'm not one
First of
to
all,
let
there's a Kender.
Yep. Bonus, right?
Yep, I've played with a Kender before. I played a Gully Dwarf.
So I flung the Kender at him. He hit. It did well. That 4 intelligence started working overtime as I look over at the classic, i.e. short, D&D elf. So I fling him at him too. He was not ready for it. Did not work as well and was slightly upset, but you know.
Yeah, I would eat the gnome. I was a half dwarf barbarian hurler.
It is, fun stuff. I mean, but I feel like if you do 3D terrain, you're going above and beyond, and it's awesome. And a couple pieces here or there can make a heck of a difference. Maybe you've just got stuff hanging around. I've got pillars and shit from old Lord of the Rings miniature battle game. Sure,
Yeah,
that stuff can be great. And a quick paint job, fucking contrast paints. So easy. Oh my god. Back in the day, we'd have to highlight that shit and then fucking shade it, and it'd be a pain in the ass. But yeah, so
somebody's ringing my doorbell. I'll be back in just a second.
but yeah, little things, little 3D things can make a difference. I don't feel like they're necessary in any shape, much as I don't think a map's technically speaking necessary in most games for any reason. But it's going to become a lot of personal thoughts
Yeah,
on that.
I think it really comes down to you and your group.
Mm-hmm.
When it really comes down to everything, it comes down to
like
you
if
and
you've got the guy who literally just has that block, you can try for a second every game to push him, but if you see those eyes start to glaze over, like, let me get a map for you, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe you just draw a map for that guy. Here's a basic outline of where things are. I try to describe things pretty easy. Like our map for G.I. Joe last night. All right, they've only got 3 towers up. They're in a triangle. Everything else is sort of in between that. You got some tents around there, then some actual semi-permanent buildings in the center, and the generators up there in the middle with everything. You can't really get a good line of sight on it from outside the camp. A couple sentences. I'm sure all of you have a basic idea what that camp looks like. Oh, some tents, some semi-permanent wooden buildings, some towers. Cool. Add some details. Towers looks like they've got spotlights that are going slowly from side to side, and then some machine guns up there. Looks like there's 3 people in each one. Other than that, there's some, standard lights, but not too much, just enough to keep you from tripping and falling in the camp. At that point, I think everyone's sort of got an idea. You've seen a movie with that, or you've got an idea what that is. By not putting details in, when someone enters the camp, and he's go, I want to jump behind, a bunch of crates they have. Cool, there's a bunch of crates there, jump behind them. You take some of that, I don't want to call it nitpicky, but it's almost nitpicky. Some of that stuff where it's like, oh, I can't quite make it to the crates to hide behind. I don't care specifically. I'm going to come forward, make a stealth check, and hide behind some crates. Sure, you stop. You measure your pace more to hide behind your crates. By having some of those details, you take sometimes the competency away from the players. Because your players may not know the ins and outs of stealth, but their characters know the ins and outs of stealth. So, not having all this detail on the map, what I would call potentially unnecessary detail, that's not going to make a big difference one way or the other. But like, sure, there are places to hide. You've got barrels and crates of whatever that they can hide behind. By not having them on the map, you make it easier for them to do what they want to do. You take some of the unnecessary fiddliness out of it. And that's good, in my opinion. I mean, I've rarely seen a game where you need to have the entirety of the fiddliness out there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you may feel like you need that. That may be your style. Your players may be the ultimate power gamers, and if something's there, they're going to use it. If something's not there, they're not going to think to use it. That's fine. That's your group. Slightly crazy, but hey, it is what it is.
Sometimes it be do like that.
Yes. But try that some. Try to be as circumspect as you can so someone can so your players feel like they have agency if they go, oh hey, I want to do this behind this thing that should be on a street or wherever the thing is, something appropriate. Just sure it's there, jump behind it or jump over it or whatever you need. You know, it's it's sort of like a combination of the rule of cool plus the don't say no assigned difficulty. They might ask for something. We have used in the past luck chits and stuff where part of it was you could make a minor change to the setting. Idea would be if you've got a good enough luck chit, like, oh, crap, my gun's out of ammo. I pull the loaded gun they had sitting on the table and hadn't grabbed yet, and use that. Like, cool, sure, whatever. There's a lot of things in there you can use for helpful, but that's a thing that you and your players kind of have to decide what. I mean, more you, but generally, obviously, all of us are good GMs and we talk with our players about stuff, so we make sure we're all having a good time.
What? We're supposed to have a good time?
Remember, the only way to win is to have fun. If you all have fun, you have won. Maybe fun is watching the heavily armored G.I. Joe guy with the machete and the hockey mask walk in and scare the fuck out of everybody in his path and laugh off machine gun fire because he does that. Maybe your fun is watching the super stealthy commando fail every goddamn stealth check he gets a chance to make and get machine gunned way more times than he'd like.
Poor stealth guy.
I'm
Snake
waiting
Eyes
for
he is
Bane.
not.
Snake Eyes he is. Well, his dice hate him. Like, he'll make a stealth check like when it's not super important, it'll be like super big. Like, yeah, I rolled a 20 in this and this. Awesome. If there's a chance the enemy can really see him, it's like 7. You get to roll lots of dice. Yes. 7 is my total.
They see you.
Well, sometimes they didn't, actually. My dice weren't exactly always great, but hey.
Sometimes you got to flub anyway for a good story.
Yeah. I don't. I very rarely. I roll the dice in front of players. If they want to lean forward and look, they can lean forward and look. If I don't want it to happen, I just won't roll the dice. If you're going to hand wave, just full on hand wave. Don't care.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to like, oh, the combat's functionally over. You guys are leaving. I'm not going to make you guys roll. You guys get away for now. For now. How else are we going to have the exciting second section? But yes, so back to maps. A lot of it is personal between you and your group.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not experienced, if you're a new GM starting, talk with your group, see what they're comfortable with. See what you're comfortable with. The end thing is you may not have the time. You may be GM just because you're the only one willing to do it and you don't have a ton of time. If so, don't do maps. Because if you ain't got the time to plan, don't waste what little time you have trying to make maps. Do it on the fly while you're there. Give them a basic description and go. If they're fortunate to be a GM when you ain't got a lot of time, you have to have fun too, and you have to not spend a ton of time. And that's sort of where I got to where I am in maps. Yes, ideally, would I love to make all the maps in the universe and like have like all this cool stuff ready? Of course I would. Unfortunately, time is not something I have an excess amount of necessarily. So winging it makes it better on me because that way all the time, or as much of the time as I can, is stuck into game time. Gonzo just rolls and then yeets a PC into my PC's walls and doesn't repair the damages, and then blows up my Haven. Wow.
Oh
Seems
yeah.
like you've been called
So
out.
in our vampire game, one of the players was being very rude to the sheriff of the town. We're in Chicago, and they lost their frenzy check, and picked up one of the player characters and yeeted him across and threw him through a wall. The player deserved what he got.
I mean, that sounds like the second half of Fuck Around and Find Out.
Yeah, he fucked around, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't going to be the sheriff wasn't going to kill him. He didn't do anything, but one of the problems with being vampires is frenzy checks from social, et cetera, et cetera, and so yeah, they found out, and it got yeeted through the walls. Hey, she didn't tell you the good part of it though. After the aftermath, the rest of the story. I blew up her apartment.
She did say you should
How
blow up
dare
your
you.
haven.
Yeah, I blew up her haven.
How dare you, sir?
It was all right. It's for good story reasons, and that's where we ended it. We ended it on the vampires being faced with the fireball of an apartment coming through. So,
Of course.
I need to find a way to challenge, like to have actually Dave have something chance to hit him. Really, he is a fucking monster.
poison.
Like literally, he's Jason Voorhees. He's sneaky. He comes out of nowhere with a fucking machete, and then just fucking. He's actually been pretty good. He actually murdered the one guy he could have. He hit him with the flat of the blade, backhand with a machete, which I'm sure doesn't feel good.
Backhanded machete.
Shit. Second time he's blown up me or my belongings for story reasons. Well, it's for a good story, Mizzy.
I had this whole thing planned out. As everybody knows, the way I run campaigns, I have a
It all
story.
comes around, Mizzy. Like, no GM will constantly hit one player without giving them some bonuses here or there.
Maybe.
Or they're just the one that likes to put themselves in the forefront every time.
I mean, yeah, some people just you keep doing it the wrong way.
Well, their character is pretty. The character that was causing the problems was pretty snide and being kind of rude to the sheriff and saying a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, here's the problem. The problem with vampires is social, problems with them, and they get insulted. They're going to come at you, and they can lose. They're cool, and they lose their cool. They get a little upset, and they kind of kill you. Hopefully this one was able to check it and was like, you need to know your place, little vampire. And eventually they did. He only threw him a couple of times. But it was really good. There was a really good, the one thing I've noticed, and I played a fantasy game with them, played some other stuff. There has been some really good role play. And we were talking about this at our RPG session, that combat's nice and fun and everything. But this group really thrives on good roleplay. And they only made like a few dice rolls to figure out, certain things, but technically there was no actual combat. This game session.
No, that's good.
So it's been really good. The Vampire has been a very big hit with this group.
I mean, G.I. Joe's been pretty good. We've been enjoying it. Might get a fourth player. We'll see if he decides to fucking show up or not. But if not, we're going to run it until I get the new Turtles game, and then we'll push the Turtles. Likely won't do maps for that either. I actually feel like that game even less wants maps than G.I. Joe does.
I could see that.
The whole Palladium games do not lend themselves to maps well at all. It's one of the big things that set them apart from D&D back in the day when they were basically just a D&D quasi reskin.
Pretty much this guy's done. I got to finish the base up, but
Nice.
the Reef Troll. Shoots a big old cannon. Got a good color palette. I'm going to switch the camera over. I did some 3D printing. So for Relic Blade, they have these little like objectives for brazers. You got to turn them on. So I did a little bit of 3D printing. I got all of John's 3D print done. I just have to now put it together and paint it. And then I got all of Nerd's stuff 3D printed and done too.
Woo!
And all cured. So, gotta send that to you.
Excellent. I like
Excelente.
presents.
Excelente.
Ausgezeichnet.
So, other than that, well, that'll be one troll down. Next, I'll probably work on some troops. Maybe this
One
guy.
troll down, but John's still here.
I
Probably work on this guy next.
mean, do I need to troll? I can troll.
One of the troop models.
Is that Hellboy?
It
Looks
kind of
like
looks like it when
Hellboy.
you look at it.
It kind of looks like Hellboy.
It does kind of look like Hellboy.
It does.
Yeah, I haven't paid in a couple of days because too much action figure work.
I've been putting the painting off. I do have 2 months to paint all my stuff because of Adepticon.
I don't have any goals right now. Just paint what I paint. I do want to
gotta
get done with
fi-
this Lance of Battletech so I can try out a slight change in my scheme.
I got all my stuff for Adepticon. It's not. It's only what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I've got to pick one to
Talk about
paint
20
for
models.
a trade I'm doing.
Ho.
I don't want to
to.
split up my Ninja
I
Turtles.
said, cool, jackass.
Oh, I thought you said ho. I'm like, hey, what are we talking about?
Hey, ho,
Ho,
hey.
Oh wait, that's
ho.
copyrighted.
We weren't in tune enough for them to notice, trust me.
Yeah. That's true too. Definitely not.
Yeah, but don't split up your Ninja Turtles. Brothers need to stay together.
Oh
Unless
no,
they're
I'm
the
not
last
going to
round
split
of
up my Ninja Turtles. I love
I-
my Nom Nom Ninja Turtles.
I got two groups up here of Ninja Turtles. Different
Yeah.
types, but both cool in their own way.
They were originally supposed to be my Christmas present for my brother, but I didn't get them done in time for this last year, so they're going to be his present for this coming year.
Actually, I wonder how Alf scales with Ninja Turtles. Questions will be answered later.
Now here is the question, and how much would it bug you if they each were a slightly different shade of green?
No, so the Mutant Mayhem ones are all slightly different shade of green each.
Okay,
They're all just
because
a
that's what I
little-
was thinking of doing with them.
Yeah,
just to
no,
play
it's-
around with colors.
It's really cool. If you look at my pictures, the even the little turtles, they come with little turtles with them.
Mhm.
Each of the little turtles is the same color as them, but each one's a little different color. It's great.
Nice.
Like for Mutant Mayhem ones, that's absolutely great. I like how each generation of certain things has different looks,
Mhm.
whether it be like a Batman or a turtle or whatever. It's very cool.
Because I do a lot of green skin, and I feel like doing the same green skin 4 times.
Look, I've painted orcs. I feel you.
Heck, even in Pal World, gave myself green skin. Because Goblin.
I mean, yeah.
All right, we can go and get started on. So pretty much what it comes down to on our topic of maps and terrain and such. One, you should always have this conversation before you do your RPG. I know we concentrated a lot on RPG because honestly, when it comes to miniature gaming, it's
terrain.
there. Yeah, it's
3D
terrain. Yeah, you need terrain.
Unless you need to stand in it like a trench or something like that, 3D terrain.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a forest, do the template, put the trees on the template just for it helps so much of the mind's eye. But do what you can to make it playable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it always should be something you discuss with your players whenever you set up. And sometimes people, physically cannot visualize unless they see physical. But this is something you discuss before you even get any more into it. And I believe that some games are better with 3D terrain than others.
I would
Our
say
maps.
most miniature games most miniature games could use it, but most role playing games don't need it. But it could be helpful in certain cases.
Correct.
Yeah. Like,
But
And
yeah,
sometimes people like to have also physical representation of their characters.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like John's trying to make action figures of his GI Joe group. I
Yeah,
got
but
plans.
if you haven't been a part of anything or whatever, John has been doing some really cool action scenes with his miniatures, his action figures, and we've been posting. He's been posting them on Discord. He's been posting. Hopefully, we'll post more on the More Than Dice because everybody's really digging it.
Hey,
And it's some really cool
oh,
scenes. It's not just like action figure just standing there. It's actual
I mean, there's
poses.
some, but there's some poses. I've got a couple. I got one longer grouping of ones, and when we get the website up and running, you can definitely tune in there. I'll try and get some posts up there.
But it's been pretty neat.
Right.
Yeah, there has been some stories on there. So let's go and get to the media section. John said he had at least 16 things to talk about. Nerd
Yep.
said 12.
Yep.
I think I
One of
only have
those
like 5 or
closer than
6.
Wow. You're lying in all of those cases, I'm pretty sure.
So I want to talk about one of the things that I was watching. Somebody said this cartoon had a really different take on the ending of the apocalypse of the world. And it's a cartoon. It's on Netflix. And it's like Carol and the end of the world. So it's a
Okay.
cartoon about everybody knows the world's going to end in about 7 months because this giant asteroid, planet, whatever, is going to come down and destroy it. So pretty much everybody knows it. Everybody, the world's getting it. And the cartoon is fucking stupid. The main character wants to go back to work and wants to have normalcy and wants to, just go back to work and just do this while everybody else is partying. Even her parents are partying, going on, wild things and partying, and her parents are actually nude 24/7 now, type thing. Yeah, it's hard to describe. One, the animation is it's just okay. The art is horrible. Um, there's no point to this. The characters, there's really nothing to it. And there's some episodes that are just like, here's a random tangent. I went through all like 10 episodes. They're only like 25 minutes. And I'd been doing it over a brief amount of period. And somebody said that this was like really, really good. So I'm like, oh, I'll give it a try. And I was like, holy crap. It's a limited series. Hopefully they don't get another season because it wasn't worth it. It was just not good. I was not impressed. The art's not great. Animation's okay, but the art's not good. The
Mm.
characters are boring. You don't give a shit about anybody. You don't care about anything that happens. It's the end of the world and you want to go back to work?
So, as outside looking in, you would be surprised at the world we're going to end. How
Correct.
people want to do that. Because in normalcy, there is
Yes. Yeah, there's
um,
safety and,
there's safety, there is your ability to cope.
yes, it's the coping thing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what they got into it.
And,
But it
and
took
I could
way
see
too
that
long.
being a quasi interesting, but yes, you'd have to make it quick and have to do a good job at it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't done. It was boring. It was so boring. I actually fast forward through some episodes just because I was like, what's happening? Oh, not a damn thing is happening in this entire episode. And I was so glad it was done. It gets 3.5 to 4 space herpes on mine. It's just, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it anymore. John?
Let's see. I did watch. I did rewatch one movie this week. I got another movie to talk about from weeks ago that I finally saw. But randomly saw some clips from something. Decided, fuck it, I'm just going to put the movie in, or more likely go on Disney Plus and watch it. So I watched Tron Legacy again,
Oh, man. Okay.
with Tron 3 in the works. Even though I hate them putting the 3 where the O is, it's fucking stupid. Stop doing that, people. That doesn't mean what you think it means. Anyways, Tron Legacy is a fucking great movie. I don't know how it didn't do well in the theaters, and fuck every reviewer who gives it a shitty review. That movie is fucking great. Like, the visuals hold up now, like fucking what, 15 years later almost?
Oh wow,
Oh, has
it
it
really
really?
has been that long.
Yeah, I mean, Tron Legacy is let's see here, 2010, so almost 15 years.
Wow.
But the visuals hold up. The story is solid. It's not the best story in the history of stories, but who cares? It doesn't need to be. It is a good, solid story. They don't do too much with it. It doesn't feel like it's 2 hours long, but it's 2 hours long. The fucking soundtrack is the
Daft Punk.
one of the best
Oh
ever.
yeah, I
Hmm.
put that soundtrack on my list.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's so good. Not only did I purchase it on CD when it came out, when they released the extended edition with all the other tracks that weren't on the CD, I bought that from iTunes directly, so I have the soundtrack twice. No, I do not regret it at all. It's just a good movie. I feel like most of the cast does a good job. I mean, obviously Jeff Bridges did a great job. Michael Sheen is completely out of control when he's on there. Olivia Wilde is good. Even Garrett Hedlund, who doesn't done a lot, has done a good job. Um, yeah, it's just a good movie from beginning to end. I'm gonna give it 0. If there's any flaws, it is the most nitpicky of nitpicky flaws. It is a worthy sequel, and also
Yep.
funny how the first movie was also didn't do well in the game of cult classic afterwards. Now the other one does. And we have honestly that movie partially to thank for the fact that the de-aging that's starting to work better on people is working better on people because they did it the whole movie. And let's be honest, if the part doesn't really hold up, that does not really hold up super well. It doesn't look like young Jeff Bridges, well enough. But they did it to the whole movie and just said, "Fuck it, we're doing it."
Yeah.
And they learned a lot, and everyone's reaping benefits. If you've never seen it, good lord, Citron Legacy, there are two good stories in a row. I'm hoping the third one, holds a candle to it. I'm expecting it to do the same sort of thing where it comes out, people are like, and then people watching like, this is great. But yeah, Zero Space Herpes. It's on Disney Plus. You probably have Disney Plus. You should watch it. Nerd?
I'm gonna start with 3,000 Years of Longing, which is a George Miller film uh, about a uh, woman who goes to Turkey. She's a writer professor. She could going to goes to Turkey and ends up unbottling a genie. And he tells her like his entire life story and all the women that he's loved and the mistakes that he's made. It is one of the most visually stunning movies I've seen in a long, long time, and it's beautifully written. It stars Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba.
Oh shit, that's a cast.
Yeah. Like I wasn't quite sure if I was going to like it, and then by the end of it I was just like I want to watch it again.
Is it streaming?
Yes.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Because it looks like
I
it's
saw
broken
that.
into different chunks, so that makes it
Mhm.
a good like while you're eating a meal movie. You watch a chunk, you go when you come back, you watch another chunk.
Yeah, you can
That's of
definitely
course
do
Yeah.
assuming it
that.
doesn't grab you and you go all in, which sometimes happens with those movies.
Yeah, and because you can watch like a story,
Hmm.
pause it,
Mhm.
watch a story, pause it, watch a story, pause it. It'd be okay to do that in this one. You wouldn't
Yeah.
you wouldn't lose much.
And I didn't feel like it was one of those overly fantastic, like it was for a movie about a genie, it felt very grounded.
Okay, that's interesting statement, but fair.
Um, like yes, it's fantastical, but the things that he talks about and like the interactions between characters, uh, it 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 hits on a lot of stuff in real life, whether it's mental health, communication, things like that. I give it 0. Like in terms of visuals, it's right up there with The Fall, which I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's probably two of the most visually stunning movies I've ever seen.
It was a pretty good
So,
one.
yeah.
I enjoyed it.
All right, Gonzo.
I do want to interrupt before I go into review. I did get a news notice. Dolly Parton is producing a new series, which love
Ooh,
Dolly. Um,
yes.
good individual person, almost sainthood type thing with all the good she's trying to do with the world and especially with her money.
Mm-hmm.
She is producing a reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm like, okay.
I'm
I
interested,
was
especially
just
since
talking about Buffy earlier today and about the fact that like I never got into the show as a teenager.
Neither did I, but I just thought it was kind of hilarious. I saw that. It was like, of all people to reboot Buffy, Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
So I'm looking
I know
forward to
some
it.
people that are cheering in the background for
Yeah.
that.
This week was the start of Masters of the Air, which is,
Ooh,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
Apple Plus, the B-52 bombers and everything in World War II. It just started. They've got 2 episodes out. Um, I, Band of Brothers was lightning in a bottle type thing in my thing because it was such a great show. Pacific wasn't that great. It was still
I
good.
mean, the Pacific was pretty good. It's just the
Goddamn Band
bar
of
was
Brothers.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they set the bar with Band of Brothers and haven't been able to reach it.
I've never even heard of the Pacific.
Yeah. It wasn't bad, but it was nowhere near Band of Brothers. We're
Yeah.
only 2 episodes in. We're still learning the characters. It's been okay. It's not great, but it's just a start. So we'll see how it goes. I'm enjoying it so far. There is this kind of weird voiceover thing that happens, and I hope it doesn't
Mm.
continue through the entire series because it might just kind of give me, a little bit. Like this guy's like, they don't give medals to chief crew, but our chief crew, Sergeant so and so, is our best chief crew on everything. And then the story, a part of the story is about the chief crew and the crew, ground crew, and stuff like that, which is okay because those people, they worked their ass off on planes.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do a bunch of shit. They deserve recognition too. So, but we're gonna see. Special effects wise, fine, no issues. I mean, it's modern day, special effects. It's still kind of, you look back on it and it's like, yeah, these people couldn't, there's no such thing as like a guided bomb type or, guided rockets and stuff like that.
mean,
It's like peering through a glass.
80 years ago.
Yeah. Peering through a scope and dropping it based on distance and time. And, the navigator going, yeah, we've been flying at what speed for how long? Yes, we should be here.
I mean, that's how
Yep.
they did it back in the day before
Yep.
GPS.
Yeah. So, it's good so far. No major complaints, just a little, annoying things, but nothing that, does anything. I'll give a full rating after the season's over. We get 1 episode a week. I think it comes on Fridays
It
or
was
Thursdays.
2 to start and then one
yeah,
a week.
and then one a
Okay.
week, which is good because that gets you a little bit more invested when you have 2 episodes, and you get to learn about the characters. But so far, I'm up. I'm in. I'm going to continue watching it. John?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I hadn't had a chance to talk about it yet. I actually finally watched Inception, which I had not seen.
Really?
Yes.
And
It is good, but it is also overrated as fuck.
I think at the time it was cool.
It
Now,
didn't even do anything original from a sci-fi standpoint. Visually stunning, acting
Yeah.
great, directing great.
the
Like, I don't want you to
tumble
think I'm
scene.
going to call this anything other than a Zero Space Rupee. But everyone talks about it like it was the fucking second coming, and it's not even doing anything originally from a science fiction story standpoint.
Yeah.
They just did it fucking great.
yeah, they did.
So, absolutely zero. I loved it. Actually, but I do feel like it is vastly overrated.
I think this was also a product of the time when it first came out that some people were just not used to this. People didn't
I mean,
get
it's
into it.
also problem of people riding the particular director's cock.
Yeah. I
He's
enjoyed
good.
it. I thought it was a
He's
good
not
movie.
the best director ever. He does good stuff. I would not think twice about watching a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah.
But he also does stuff that's a little too much. Like, the biggest flaw in that movie, to give it one, is that only one character. So technically speaking, none of the characters have any real character development.
Accurate.
Maybe you could give a little bit like Leo kind of does. It's more of him resolving his further thing.
Yeah.
This is, again, great movie. Would not hesitate to watch it again, but I feel like it's a little overstated how influential or good it was. There's some scenes that were good. Apparently, The hallway fight scene caused another movie. I think it was a X-Men movie to change one of their fight scenes because they were about to do the same thing. But great, zero space herpes, but again, a little overrated. But I'm usually like that with stuff like that, groundbreaking. I respect groundbreaking, but I don't really know that it was actually groundbreaking. But again, really good. Nerd?
Uh, a couple of weeks ago, watched Ghostbusters Afterlife
Mhm.
because I know the next one is coming out, so I wanted to watch the one that's supposedly going to be canon, or
I
is
mean, Afterlife's
canon.
canon, yeah.
Yeah, Afterlife's canon. Um, I I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
It was a fun throwback to the original without trying to replicate it. Like, it was its own original story. I liked the kids in it. The daughter, or the younger sister, however you want to call her, uh, like she impressed me in terms of just like the maturity level of the role. It wasn't just a screaming child in a Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
Like, they were interesting. There's a little bit of a what I called a Star Wars moment towards the end of the movie where like the ghost of Egon comes out
Oh yeah.
and
Which is
other
tough because Sarah Ramis passed.
yeah. I like that was the only part that I was kind of like meh.
But you kind of had to, from what I understand, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I
Yeah.
love about the whole Ghostbusters thing is that Ernie Hudson is 100% on board with whatever to try and keep, do Ghostbuster stuff whenever.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
And he's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like in the
Like,
first
I'm
movie,
looking
he is
forward to them
great because
coming
he's
back for the
like
next one.
the grounding of the series because he's just
Yeah.
a guy.
Yep. So I give it half a space harpy.
That's on my list to watch. I'm hoping it's streaming somewhere I can watch soon.
It is. Let me triple check where, because everything I watch is on streaming. So
Well, I watched Tron Legacy on streaming, but I could have just thrown it in the Blu-ray.
fair. All right, Gonzo.
So I'm gonna John watched Reacher last week, and I finished it up this week. I enjoyed it. I like comparing the two seasons. I like Reacher better when he's just by himself, doing cool Reacher shit than the crew. But it wasn't bad. Let me get that straight. Reacher season 2 wasn't
like
bad.
the fact that his team gets to throw shit in his face, kind of though.
Yeah, they did get to
Like,
get to give
he
him
gets
shit
some
and everything.
development because of him being a bit of an idiot sometimes.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. There was nothing wrong. Type thing. There was anything. I like Reacher better as a single guy going through a town helping people, so on and so forth. Which I understand season 3 is that's what he's going. They're going back to that route.
I like the change of pace though.
Yeah,
Because
like I said, wasn't a problem.
the actress who plays Neely is great. His whole crew is great, and I love their interaction. I thought it was a very good season. It's
Yeah.
not quite as good as the first one. It's a little less down to earth and a little more action movie at points,
Yeah.
but it's not like it's a detriment. It's just different.
Correct. I will say the best line in the entire thing was, "Why would I fucking care about her?" In response to the line said, Sarah Connor type thing, and I was like, that was
Oh,
you.
who's Sarah Connor? Like he gets the Yankees first baseman reference that Reacher uses, but he doesn't get the Sarah Connor reference.
Yeah,
And it's fucking what's his name who played the T-1000?
yeah,
Robert
Oh,
Patrick.
seriously?
yeah. That was the whole thing. Is the guy, the main bad guy is the guy that played, the T-1000, and they
Yeah,
made a
Robert
joke.
Patrick.
Yeah,
Was
Robert
like, he's like, she's
like,
booked
well
herself
played.
under the name Sarah O'Connor. Does that mean anything to you? He goes, why
Sarah
the fuck
Connor,
does the name
yeah.
Sarah O'Connor mean anything to me?
I really like the cop. I really like what they did at the
Yes.
end. The ending didn't get me teary, but it got me some feels.
Yeah. The cop was really good in this one. I
They
enjoyed
played
it.
it well
Yeah.
because you're not sure.
Yeah. I enjoyed
Like
it. I
several
just
things
like
are.
the solo Reacher a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. The Slow Reach is a lot better.
Yeah.
Alan Richardson is like the complete package. Like I say this a lot of times, people are like, oh, well, Tom Cruise. No, Tom Cruise fucking played it well. And certain things that happens to Reacher makes much more sense if he's Tom Cruise size, not Alan Richardson size.
Yeah. Because that
Yeah.
Like
dude
the
is
first
big.
season of Reacher, when like the 4 or 5 drunk punks come to fuck with him, I'm like, I understand alcohol makes you do stupid things, but holy shit, that don't make a lot of sense. Plus like the scene in the movie, in the first Reacher movie, where the guys are, getting him in the bar and they're gonna go beat him up. Like that makes more sense if he's Tom Cruise size, not stands up and he's fucking a giant. People aren't always stupid,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. I like the investigation portions of it. Yeah, it was a good season. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it wasn't bad. John, what you got?
Eh,
Anything else?
absolutely. Let's go with the stuff I got all the way through. So I want to talk about something I bought. I bought the graphic novel, which is the basically the 40th anniversary of the GI Joe comic silent issue.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's more in it than that. They have a couple other issues. There's like 6 or 7 total issues in there. The first one, and then the silent issue, then a couple others. But the silent issue, they have it standard, just straight reprint. They have it drawn where each page is drawn by a different artist,
hmm.
and then they have it just the storyboards for it. So as like the silent issue, and like if you don't know what the GI Joe silent issue is, it is fucking a masterpiece, possibly one of the best comics ever put to print because there's no dialogue, not a shred of dialogue,
Nice.
no narrator telling you what's going on. Like there may be like a screen showing something, it might have words on the screen, but there's no actual dialogue through it, and it's great. Tells a story, it shows you, especially comic wise, how you can tell a story visually. And the whole idea is Scarlet's been captured by Cobra, and Snake Eyes is jumping in to save her. It's Snake Eyes. I mean, I'm a Snake Eyes stand, and no one is surprised. But it's very good. If you get a chance to ever read that issue, do it. It's just great. If you like comics at all, it's a piece of comic history. And I mean, if you give it a space review, I'm gonna give it 0. Well worth the money I paid for it. Um, I don't know. I think it came out actually. It definitely came out last year at least. It was in the local game store, and I was looking for something. I'm like, how can I not buy that? It's the silent issue with Snake Eyes. I had it back in the day. I don't have a copy anymore, but it's good to have it on my shelf now in a graphic novel format. Nerd.
I watched, so last night was stupid comedy night at my house. So first one we watched was a movie called Self-Reliance. It's got Jake Johnson and Anna Kendrick. And
Jake Johnson from what was that movie?
he's on the show, what is it?
Hold on, what's that movie? It's got the Flight of the Intruder. Hold on.
Maybe Flight of the Navigator?
No, Flight of the Intruder. It's a military movie. Him and Willem Dafoe. I might have the wrong actor. It might be a different Jake Johnson. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
stupid.
no.
He's
From the
45
show
years old.
New Girl. He's also
Probably. Yeah. Okay, different guy.
he's
Oh,
the voice of Spider-Man.
He did Peter B. Parker. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he was Peter Parker. So it's him and Anna Kendrick, and they are bored out of their minds and decide to uh get involved with some dark web game where they have to try and survive 30 days while people are trying to kill them. But if you keep somebody within like arm's reach of you at all times, they can't harm you. So like he hires a homeless guy to like hang around with him the whole time, and like it ends up becoming like a bunch of like self actualization, uh, and like self reflection type of stuff. It's stupid fun, but I wouldn't call it a good movie. I'd give it like 1.5 Space Herpes.
I'm thinking of Brad Johnson. My bad.
Ah.
Not the football player. Like I was in, but Jake Johnson was in Tag also, which is a movie I've seen tons of clips
Yes.
from, and I've seen part of it without words because the guy in a flight was watching it next to me. And I really want to see the whole thing because it looks amusing.
Tag is a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's on my list.
If nothing else for Jeremy Renner.
I've seen a lot of clips from it on YouTube, and I'm like, this looks great.
Yeah,
Like
it's people who
a
take Tag
proper
way
comedy
too
in all the
seriously.
right ways. It's based on a true story, kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
they just take it
kinda.
way too seriously.
Yeah.
All right,
Gonzo?
Gonzo.
Um, so I'm going to give a warning before I talk about this. This is a very adult cartoon show. Um, like, holy crap, some of the stuff they say and do in this, you're like, shit, they got away with it.
Sir, I've seen a Rotsuka Doji. You can't scare me.
No. But for people that don't, that aren't used
Yeah.
to this, so there is a new show on Amazon Prime. It was originally a YouTube skit show, and they did a couple of shows on there. I did not know that this show was a musical,
Yep.
and I was very surprised about it because this is some good musical shit here. But it is,
Yeah, the pilot's on YouTube.
yeah, it is so fucking adult. I mean, one of the characters is a twink porn star. And there's actually one episode that they do have to give a warning that there's a sexual assault in this, but it's called Has Been Hotel.
So,
Uh, yeah, they give it that there's a possibility, but the episode is actually really, really good.
I- I'm here to say, and I say this just for my old roommate Cree, that never needs to be part of a fucking story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
If
show
you take it out of
is
stories, you won't see it anymore in real life.
this thing is super, super good. This show, the artwork is kind of weird. It's a different style and everything. But the whole story, pretty much what it is Satan's daughter wants to reform people that went to hell and try to
Okay.
get them to go back into heaven. Because heaven
Mhm.
has this rule where every year heaven comes down and kills a bunch of demons so they don't rise up.
Oh, I've seen clips from this. Okay, I've
Yeah.
seen some pictures from this. Okay.
Yeah. It became really popular on the internet and they gave it a TV series. Um, and it is fucking hilarious. The lines they write for these characters, the things they say, and you're like, oh shit, did they? Yep, they went there. Um, and it's great. The music, the songs are outrageously good. The main character does the voice. One of the main characters is the voice of Mirabelle from Encanto, and sings lines and all this. Everything's done great. Um, it is very, very adult, and they touch on some. They say some very adult things. Um, but some of the songs I've already downloaded the soundtrack. I've already got the soundtrack on there because it is so fun. It is so good. It is, and it's a lot of, you know, poppy, very catchy tunes. There's a song on there called "Loser" that is amazingly good.
I've only watched the first episode so far. I'm waiting for my roommate to get home so we can watch some more.
So you started watching it?
Yeah, we started
Yeah,
watching it.
"Happiness in Hell" I think is the first song. It's really good. I was really surprised, very very happy with it. I loved every bit of it. But it is not for everybody.
No.
It is definitely not. Don't even think about, whatever. But the songs are great. There wasn't anything, to me, not an issue with anything. But I enjoyed the shit out of it and can't wait for season 2. I think it's like the second largest streaming thing that has ever happened on Amazon Prime. So it broke some records. I enjoyed the hell of it. I can't wait to see. I may watch it again just because it was funny as shit. But I enjoyed it a lot. I can't wait to hear what Nerd has to say on it. But definitely, I give it 0 space herpes right now. This is
Oh
just
yeah.
this has just been
If
really really good.
I watched the pilot back when it was first came out. I watched the first episode. I have a feeling that I'm gonna have some similar review.
Yeah, I think you and
So
I are gonna go well on this, but it is a very adult themed and adult voiced
yes,
and a
very
voice.
explicit.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Don't say it, Cox.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of sexual innuendos and funny stuff in it, but perfect for me. I loved it. It was enjoyable. John?
All hail the radio demon.
Oh God, he's my
Um,
favorite.
I want to
Alistair.
talk about the Roadhouse trailer.
The
what?
Roadhouse trailer. I'm gonna say this before we get started in there.
Wait,
Jake. Yeah, there's a new.
They're
They're
doing a
rebooting.
reimagining. Let's not
Yeah.
call it a remake. It's a reimagining of Roadhouse.
I will tell you this right now.
Okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal is fucking ripped in this. This man, you know that he went through some hardcore regiment to get as ripped as he did.
And that's kind of the thing I want to touch on. They need to learn they don't need to do that much. Like
No.
Patrick Swayze wasn't super. He was in shape.
Yes.
Wait, it's him and Conor McGregor?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of is the bad guy.
Which I don't like Conor McGregor.
Okay.
But I will
That's
say,
good. I'm happy
Jake,
to root against the bitch ass.
yeah. But Jake Gyllenhaal in this, his physique, holy shit, this dude.
And I'm actually like, I like that
yeah.
it's a reimagining, not a full remake. Like, obviously, you can tell, look at the trailer, okay, this is not going to be exactly like, a
It's not a-
remake of the original.
It's not a prequel. It's not a sequel. It's not a
It's a it's like the BSG, like Battlestar Galactica. It is a reimagining of the series. It takes the basic idea and then kind of goes in some different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it looks intriguing. I mean, so I'm on Twitter more than you guys, probably.
Of course.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
And Action Movie Twitter is upset that it didn't get a theatrical release. To which I'm going to say, fucking Amazon had to come in and save it. Were you expecting a theatrical fucking release? Because I'm here to tell you, that's not what fucking Amazon does. They are really good, exceptionally good at getting value for people who pay for Amazon Prime, so that they're like, hey, it's worth it for us to just not even worry about it and keep getting Prime because they keep putting out series and movies and shit. It's good for them. You had to expect that. I also think it looks maybe not like a good release out there, you know?
Yeah. I could see it being a good streaming type
I can
thing.
see it also being a decent release, but, they'd have to put a lot of money into advertising it rather than just a trailer here or there. So,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I will watch it streaming when it comes out.
Yep.
It looks, I like the fact, again, like I said, it's not a direct remake, it's a reimagining, and I like that. So, interesting to see where it goes. The trailer's worth a watch if you're not sure. Nerd, want to finish it out real quick with one?
I will do a speed run on the retirement plan. It's another ridiculous Nicolas Cage movie. It's also got Ron Perlman in it.
Okay.
Oh, right.
And
Love Earl
Jackie Earl Haley as the bad guy.
Love Jackie Earle.
Yeah. So it's got a solid core cast. Oh, Ernie Hudson shows up in it too.
You're practically in at that point.
Yeah. You don't really care about any of the characters. There's really no big character development, but it's fun. It's action packed. It does not take itself seriously. I give it a solid 1.
It's from the director of Nothing You've Seen at All.
Yep.
Literally nothing you've seen.
Yep.
Holy crap, these are some bad
I'll
ratings.
give it. You know what? No. I'll be honest. It gets 2.5. It's pretty bad. It's fun, but it's one of those you watch it once and you're like, okay, I watched that. Next on my list is what is it? The Unbearable Weight of Talent or something like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, the other Nicolas Cage, Pedro Pascal.
Where he plays
I
himself.
need to see the source of the meme. Yes.
Yes.
I also want to watch Mom and Dad, which is the horror film about parents killing their children.
Okay.
Fair enough. I just started
it's
Echo.
like a horror comedy. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm on a Nicolas Cage kick lately.
Fair.
Did you see that
He's
someone
a
has a
national
mod
treasure.
that turns all Baldur's Gate 3 characters with Nicolas Cage's face?
Yes, I did see that today.
I'm like, oh shit.
I saw Cage Zell.
Yep. So, well, guys, that is our show. I'm sure we have more media to talk about, but it is time to shut it down. I'm going to send you to Diomedes Industries, where he's working on some leather work.
He's on like at all times of the day now. He is just all over the place in terms of. He was on this morning.
Oh, man's got to make money, so why not stream it and show his leather working?
And we love Dio.
Yep.
Remember, everybody! ! Ban space Dio. It doesn't actually ban him, but it does bring up a command.
So
everybody going and ban Dio in his own channel.
So we're gonna send you off to him, guys. Like I said, be on the lookout. There's gonna be some changes coming around to the channel. Nothing bad. Everything's going to be up and cool. But like always, please take care of yourself, physically, mentally, socially, whatever you need to do. Make sure you do it. And like I says, if you see something, say something. If you hear something, do something. If you can't do someone that can't do it, find someone that will, because we've got to look out for each other. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Nerd.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Yes. Every time